It would save $1.1 trillion. That happens to be just slightly more than the Medicaid cuts and the food stamps or SNAP cuts, if you will, put together. So this is a highly regressive bill that essentially favors the wealthy, doesn't do much for the middle class, and hurts the poor.
So many Americans knew it was awful. The fact is, there was a recent poll that was done and only 29% of Americans support the bill.
Breaking. Trump's July 4th celebration might feature fireworks, but the real explosion is in his new bill. While it's wrapped in patriotic promises, it slices Medicaid and SNAP benefits for millions, hands sweet deals to the wealthy, and even sneaks in Trump accounts for kids. Is this America's dream or a nightmare in disguise? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. What makes a bill titled the One Big Beautiful Bill Act sound more like a dream but feel like a total disaster? Well, let's just say, what's inside this beautiful package might make your head spin, and not in a patriotic parade kind of way. Trump signed this masterpiece during the July 4th celebrations, draping it in fireworks, flags, and just the right amount of star-spangled showmanship. But here's the irony. The title screams USA, USA, while the contents quietly yank lifelines away from millions of struggling Americans.
But the reality is that you have sold your constituents out for 83 people in this country.
Since the election, Democrats have often felt as if they're having a hard time getting the message out, getting the word out to Americans and to voters about what Trump is doing.
Expanding the debt ceiling more than we've ever done it.
I will wrap up by saying this.
So if we simply eliminated these tax cuts, we could eliminate these budget cuts on these poor people and end up, from a budget point of view, in the same place.
First up, Medicaid. This bill slashes a whopping $1 trillion from Medicaid over the next decade. What does that mean? Nearly 12 million Americans could lose health coverage, just poof, gone, with over 300,000 uninsured Texans on top of that. Yes, the state with the nation's highest uninsured rate might actually look worse when this is all said and done. In places like the Rio Grande Valley, where Medicaid helps keep hospitals running, the cuts could devastate local communities. Talk about putting your patriotic decorations on while pulling the rug right out from under rural hospitals. And it doesn't stop there. The bill introduces stricter SNAP work requirements, basically forcing people age 52 to 65, even those with kids over 14, to prove they're grinding away 80 hours a month to keep food on the table. In theory, this policy is supposed to inspire self-reliance. In practice, it's tossing 2 million people, including seniors and working families, off food assistance. That's like telling someone their safety net suddenly has a hole in it, but calling it a motivational feature. Here's where it gets messy. Hakeem Jeffries didn't hold back, calling this bill a crime scene. He accused Trump and his bill of stealing healthcare and food security from Americans just to fund tax cuts for the wealthy. And you've got to ask.
So this is a highly regressive bill that essentially favors the wealthy, doesn't do much for the middle class, and hurts the poor.
And at the same time, adding to the deficit $4 trillion. And for good reason. It's stripping 16 million Americans off of their health care, taking food away from children.
And you get a very large cut in Medicaid and these other benefits that we were just talking about that affects the 20% disproportionately.
How is this, in any universe, a beautiful bill, cutting care for 12 million people just to hand billionaires a few extra yachts? But it gets better, or worse. This bill isn't just shredding safety nets, it's handing out luxury prizes to the elites. What are those prizes, and who's making off with them? Stay tuned. What's a celebration without party favors?
But few can articulate that frustration as well as Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
It would save $1.1 trillion. That happens to be just slightly more than the Medicaid cuts and the food stamps or SNAP cuts, if you will, put together. You actually lose $800. Why do you lose $800? You get a very small tax cut.
We're all beyond frustrated with Trump's quote, big, beautiful bill, which is basically as popular as Trump is in Los Angeles right now.
But in Trump's world, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act hands out VIP goodies for the wealthy and sticks everyone else with a shiny new IOU. Let's break it down. At the center of this bill is the permanent extension of Trump's 2017 tax cuts. Remember those? They were originally set to expire in 2025, but this bill ensures America's richest won't lose sleep over a tax hike ever. And to be fair, most Americans see some benefit here too. Middle-income families might save anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a year. Not huge, but hey, it's enough for a Costco trip or two. Meanwhile, the top 10% of earners, they'll pocket an average $12,000 annually. The poorest families, though, they're not saving anything. In fact, they'll somehow lose $1,600 a year instead. That's not trickle-down economics. It's flood-up economics. And just when you thought it couldn't get more absurd,
in your after-tax income, really all from these tax cuts.
The House bill is going to add about $4 trillion to the debt ceiling. The Senate bill adds $5 trillion. There's nothing fiscally conservative about.
So if you're in the top 20% of Americans, you're going to get roughly a 3.7% increase.
Here come the Trump accounts. Picture this. Every child born in 2025 or later gets a $1,000 account funded by the federal government. Sounds kind of generous, right? But there's a catch. These accounts are basically investment funds, with rules so strict it feels like an infomercial scam. Kids can touch half the money at age 18 for approved purchases. Think school or starting a business, but the rest stays locked until they're 31. Even if you love the free market, you've got to admit this plan feels like sprinkling sugar on a dumpster fire. Oh, and it'll cost $3 billion a year. Meanwhile, Medicaid keeps getting gutted. Senator Ted Cruz is particularly proud of this one, calling it a way to give every child skin in the game. Sure, as long as you ignore the game being rigged. Here's the kicker. The bill adds $3.3 trillion to the deficit over the next decade. That's trillion with a T. So is this bill an investment in America's kids or just another punchline for struggling families? Stay tuned. It might get worse.
So many Americans knew it was awful. The fact is, there was a recent poll that was done and only 29% of Americans support the bill.
Tax cuts for people making over $500,000 a year, which is roughly what President Biden was proposing.
The One Big Beautiful Bill Act is less a gift and more a Trojan horse, wrapped in fireworks but packed with cuts that could leave millions of Americans struggling. Medicaid slashed, SNAP gutted, and a $3.3 trillion hole punched into the deficit, all while billionaires toast tax breaks. Signed on July 4th, a day meant to celebrate equality and opportunity. It's the bitter irony of a lifetime. Question who this bill truly serves. Share this video, stay informed, and ask, what kind of America do we actually want to celebrate? Because right now, it's looking more one big beautiful mess.